Hello, my name is Hannah. I am the wife of Elkanah, a Levite and a woman of deep faith. In my life, I have faced great challenges, particularly the longing for a child, a desire that weighed heavily on my heart. Though my husband took a second wife, Peninnah, who bore him many children, I remained steadfast in my faith, trusting that God had a plan for me. In my sorrow, I poured out my soul to the Lord, seeking his mercy and guidance. When I was granted the precious gift of a son, whom I named Samuel, I felt my prayers answered in a profound way. But my joy was intertwined with the promise I made to God, to dedicate my son to his service. It was not an easy choice to part with him, yet my heart overflowed with gratitude for what the Lord had given me. Through my journey, I learned that true devotion often requires sacrifice, and that faithfulness in the face of adversity can yield blessings beyond measure. I hope my story inspires others to trust in God's timing and to remain steadfast in their prayers. Thank you for allowing me to share my heart with you today.
I am Elkanah, a Levite from Mount Ephraim, blessed with wealth and influence, yet my heart is anchored in a deep devotion to God. I have always sought to honor him, making my way to the temple at Shiloh each year. Even when the ministry there is marred by corruption, I refuse to let the failings of others deter my faith. My heart belongs to my beloved wife, Hannah. Her piety and earnestness inspire me, and I see the anguish she endures over our childlessness. Despite the societal pressures that weigh upon us, I remain steadfast in my love for her, often reminding her that my affection for her is worth more than 10 sons. Yet, in my desire to fulfill the expectations of our people and to leave a legacy, I took a second wife, Peninnah. While she has given me children, our home has been filled with strife and jealousy. Peninnah's pride has often overshadowed the joy that should accompany our family, and my heart aches for Hannah, who bears the brunt of this turmoil. In our feasts, I give Hannah a double portion, a symbol of my love and respect for her. I want her to know that despite the challenges we face, she remains my cherished partner. My life is a testament to the struggle of balancing duty and devotion, loyalty to God, and love for my family. Even in the face of adversity, I strive to uphold my faith and honor my commitment to both God and Hannah.
I am Peninnah, the wife of Elkanah. Some know me as the mother of his children, the one blessed with many sons and daughters. I have given him the heirs he desired, and I have fulfilled my role as a wife in the eyes of our people. But there is another woman in my husband's heart, a woman who holds no children in her arms, Hannah. She receives his favor, despite her barrenness. I have watched for years as he showers her with kindness, giving her a double portion of offerings at Shiloh, as though she had given him something I could not. But what has she brought him? What has she given our household? Nothing but silent tears and prayers. I am no stranger to jealousy. Yes, I have felt its burning fire. Am I not the one truly favored by the Lord, the one who has borne Elkanah his children? And yet I see Hannah, always so quiet, so pious, and still she remains empty-handed. It angers me. She is no better than I, and yet she sits as though waiting for a gift from the heavens. I have spoken out, it is true. I have reminded her of her barrenness, perhaps too often, but it is the truth. And still she weeps. She hides her face in her grief. But what of me? What of my toil, my pain, my sleepless nights raising Elkanah's children? Do I not deserve his full affection? But the Lord has his own plans. I see now that he has heard her cries, and she has borne a son. They say his name is Samuel, asked of God. Perhaps in all my words, in all my bitterness, I had forgotten that the Lord sees what we cannot. He listens, even to the cries of the barren. But this is my truth, my life, and I have borne the children Elkanah sought. For that, I stand tall in this household, even as the winds of fate shift around us.
As you've heard from us, the lives of Elkanah, Peninnah, and myself, Hannah, were filled with both joy and hardship. Now, listen as the sacred account unfolds, the story of how the Lord answered our prayers, blessed our family, and brought forth Samuel, a man dedicated to his service.
Now there was a certain man of Ramathaim Zophim, of the mountains of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. And he had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. This man went up from his city yearly to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. Also the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there. And whenever the time came for Elkanah to make an offering, he would give portions to Peninnah his wife, and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he would give a double portion, for he loved Hannah, although the Lord had closed her womb. And her rival also provoked her severely, to make her miserable because the Lord had closed her womb. So it was year by year, when she went up to the house of the Lord, that she provoked her. Therefore she wept, and did not eat. Then Elkanah her husband said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? Why do you not eat? And why is your heart grieved? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? So Hannah arose after they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the tabernacle of the Lord. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed to the Lord, and wept in anguish. Then she made a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your maidservant and remember me, and not forget your maidservant, but will give your maidservant a male child, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall come upon his head. And it happened, as she continued praying before the Lord, that Eli watched her mouth. Now Hannah spoke in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she was drunk. So Eli said to her, How long will you be drunk? Put your wine away from you. But Hannah answered and said, No, my lord, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor intoxicating drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Do not consider your maidservant a wicked woman, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief I have spoken until now. Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant your petition which you have asked of him. And she said, Let your maidservant find favor in your sight. So the woman went her way and ate, and her face was no longer sad. Then they rose early in the morning and worshipped before the Lord, and returned and came to their house at Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her. So it came to pass in the process of time that Hannah conceived and bore a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, Because I have asked for him from the Lord. Now the man Elkanah and all his house went up to offer to the Lord the yearly sacrifice and his vow. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, Not until the child is weaned. Then I will take him, that he may appear before the Lord, and remain there forever. So Elkanah her husband said to her, Do what seems best to you. Wait until you have weaned him. Only let the Lord establish his word. Then the woman stayed and nursed her son until she had weaned him. Now, when she had weaned him, she took him up with her, with 3 bulls, 1 ephah of flour, and a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of the Lord in Shiloh. And the child was young. Then they slaughtered a bull, and brought the child to Eli. And she said, O my lord, as your soul lives, my lord, I am the woman who stood by you here, praying to the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition which I asked of him. Therefore I also have lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he shall be lent to the Lord. So they worshipped the Lord there. And Hannah prayed and said, My heart rejoices in the Lord. My horn is exalted in the Lord. I smile at my enemies, because I rejoice in your salvation. No one is holy like the Lord, for there is none besides you, nor is there any rock like our God. Talk no more so very proudly. Let no arrogance come from your mouth, for the Lord is the God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. The bows of the mighty men are broken, and those who stumbled are girded with strength. Those who were full have hired themselves out for bread, and the hungry have ceased to hunger. Even the barren has borne 7, and she who has many children has become feeble. The Lord kills and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and brings up. The Lord makes poor and makes rich. He brings low and lifts up. He raises the poor from the dust, and lifts the beggar from the ash heap, to set them among princes, and make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. He will guard the feet of his saints, but the wicked shall be silent in darkness. For by strength no man shall prevail. The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken in pieces. From heaven he will thunder against them. The Lord will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his anointed. Then Elkanah went to his house at Ramah, but the child ministered to the Lord before Eli the priest.
As I watched my son Samuel grow, it became clear that the Lord had great plans for him. From his early years, he was dedicated to the service of God, raised under the guidance of Eli, the high priest. Even as a young boy, Samuel showed deep reverence for the Lord, a heart eager to obey, and a humility that set him apart from others. Despite being surrounded by the wickedness of Eli's sons, Samuel remained faithful. He did not follow their sinful ways, but grew in favor with both God and man. As he matured, God called him to be a prophet. It was in the quiet of the night that the Lord first spoke to him, and from that moment, Samuel became his chosen voice to the people of Israel. Samuel grew to become not only a prophet, but also a judge and leader in Israel. He guided the people through a time of great moral decay, helping them turn their hearts back to God. It was through Samuel that the Lord anointed the first 2 kings of Israel, Saul and David, setting the course for the future of our nation. Though my heart ached to part with him, I could not be more proud of the man Samuel became. He was strong, faithful, and obedient to the will of the Lord. Samuel was a light in dark times, a man whom God used to lead Israel, and I am blessed to have been his mother. If you feel discouraged, remember my story. If you are in a place of despair, if your life feels barren, I want to remind you today that with God, all things are possible. Just as he opened my womb, he can open doors for you that no one else can. The barren can bear 7, the lifeless can be given life. He gives sight to the blind, hearing to the deaf, and strength to the weak. He makes the lame walk, sets captives free, and delivers those in bondage. There is nothing beyond his power. Whatever you face today, trust that the Lord is able. His promises are sure, and his timing is perfect. Hold fast to your faith, for there is no limit to what our God can do. He did it for me, and he can do it for you. Keep praying, keep believing, and watch God work in your life. If you believe that God can change your situation, like he did for me, share this message with someone who needs to hear it, and remember to subscribe for more encouragement. With God, all things are possible.